Picture-perfect blue skies here in Florida as we get set to go for our final race of the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires in St. Petersburg. 72 degrees, blue skies, not a cloud to be seen, and it is almost time to go racing. Indy Lights drivers on the racetrack for their single main event here this weekend, and again, looking forward to what should be a tremendous day. Hello, race fans. Rob Howden alongside Nolan Siegel, a winner yesterday in the Indy Pro 2000 category. This has been a fantastic weekend to start off the 2022 racing season here on the Road to Indy. Some tremendous racing. Indy Pro 2000 in their first race going green to checker. A super exciting finish in USF2000 yesterday. We'll get to that. But before we do, let's get a hold of Nolan Siegel here, a driver who came through USF2000. Dude, you get a race win last year in USF2000, and you're off to a start already. A victor yesterday. It's a day on. How do you feel about that win?
I feel great. It gives me a huge confidence boost for the rest of the season. This historically hasn't been my best track, so to come away with a win yesterday was incredible.
You obviously changed the history on that. You can say this is a track I've won on before, which is big. Let's use you right now. You have had a chance to be on the racetrack throughout the weekend, and one of the things about a street circuit like this is I call it like a living being, right? It always continues to change throughout the entire weekend. When you got on track on Thursday, it was kind of dusty, not a lot of rubber down. How did the track evolve with all the different categories and, of course, IndyCar on the racetrack? What was it like grip-wise?
Well, at the start of the weekend, obviously no one's been on track. It's just a public road and a runway. So it's really dirty. There's no rubber laid down, and the grip is very low. But throughout the weekend, as all of the classes go out with IndyCar rubber going down, the track improves a lot, and it'll change the balance of the car quite a bit. So the team has to constantly evolve the setup to keep up with the changing track conditions.
All right, let's talk about USF2000. Nolan, you've run a couple of races here at your start of your career. These are the young drivers. You remember when you were 14, 15 years of age in this particular program. You're amped up. You're ready to go. But how much better is the second race than the first race? We start the season here, right? So these are raw rookies. Once you get that first race in the books, how much different do you feel for race number 2?
Yeah, I remember my first time here when I was 14 years old in USF2000. And it's a daunting place to do your first race.
Yeah.
Your first time racing in a professional series for a lot of people. First time on a street course, it was for me. So to just have that one race under your belt, if everything goes well, the second race is definitely a lot less intimidating.
So let's have a look a little bit about the race that we had earlier in the weekend. A tremendous battle early on. Thomas Neveu from D-Force Racing out to a pretty solid start. Jace Denmark Gessel had slotted into the second spot for Pabst Racing, but the driver was really on the move. A tremendous drive for Miles Rowe as he was first able to get by his teammate Jace Denmark and then reeled in Neveu over the end of that race. It had gone green to checker, no yellow flags whatsoever. And Miles got in there and last lap made a dive move. Both drivers trying to go for that little bit of real estate in turn number 2, and a racing incident puts them both in the wall. And, of course, both those drivers getting ready to come back and fight. The Pabst Racing crew going to work to get that car put back together. So Miles will be back in it, trying to get that victory that eluded him yesterday, and the same to be said for Thomas Neveu. You know, you've been in a couple incidents in your career, as any racers would be, Nolan. What's the mindset when you've been in a wreck in the first race? How do you process that? How do you get yourself prepared to get back into the race car to do it again?
You really just have to forget about it. Crashes like that, unfortunately, it's a part of racing, and both drivers were racing each other really hard. They both wanted that win, and it's a difficult situation, but I think for both of them, they're just going to have to forget about it, move on, and race each other like they would anyone else.
A lot of great drivers in the field. One that kind of benefited a little bit, of course, from that incident. Jace Denmark got through to get the victory, but it was Billy Fraser, the New Zealand driver for Exclusive Autosport. He had a pretty good run here at St. Petersburg last year. Was able to move to P2. And again, a confidence thing for Fraser, having a solid year last year as a freshman, but coming into his sophomore season, this result early on, I think, will be big for him. He'll start deeper in the field, so one of the drivers you're going to want to watch out for is Billy Fraser. So let's ask you about that. You are a rookie driver. You get through the first season, and like I tell all you drivers, it's such a daunting task the first year, but you're going to be drastically different as a young driver coming into the new season. For Billy Fraser, talk a little about your experience of what it was like your second season in the program when you've gone through all the rookie stuff.
Yeah, every race, especially for a guy like Billy, who I don't think raced in the U.S. before his rookie season in USF2000. He's learning all the tracks for the first time in that first year, still learning the car, and so to then come back to all those tracks again the second season, it's going to give him a huge confidence boost, and he'll be able to immediately go out and be up top like he has. Again,
Nolan Siegel joining us here. A big win yesterday in the Indy Pro 2000 category. He is now the point leader as well. What do you think about that? I was kind of going through all the scenarios. I thought I thought that Louis Foster could potentially be in the fight, but you've got him by a couple of points. That fast lap, of course, in race 1 was a big one too.
Yeah, the pole position, the race win, obviously helped get me up there in the points. It is the first race weekend, so it doesn't mean a ton, but it obviously can't hurt for the rest of the season, and the whole team is just going to build on that progress.
I was going to say, it's not huge to a certain extent because it's a long season until we get to Portland, but you could be 10th position, not P1. So out of the gate, what were your expectations coming in? Is that something like, does it change the way you're going to approach the next couple of races? Let me ask you that.
At this point, I don't think so. Once you get to the end of the season, if you have a points lead, you can obviously back off a little bit and just make sure that you're finishing races consistently and getting the points that you need to close down a championship. But at the beginning here, I'm still going to be looking for poles and race wins and going all out for the first couple race weekends to try and build a points lead.
One of the things, of course, with any one of the teams is that culture within the tent, right? D-Force Racing has been a strong team. They were able to win the USF2000 championship last year with Kiko Porto. He is now your teammate. A couple of rookies coming in and doing great here this year. You leave the weekend as point leaders. What's it like under the tent at D-Force Racing between you and Kiko? You guys have a good blend?
Yeah, we have a really good bond now. We were teammates all last season in USF2000, and we've worked really well together all year, all through the off season, and I think that we're both growing a lot in the Indy Pro 2000 car and helping each other a ton. So it's been really helpful to have Kiko as a teammate and just having someone to bounce ideas off of, and usually one of us is stronger at certain tracks, and we try to help each other a lot so that we can get to 1-2 hopefully at every race weekend.
At least once, right, this year?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the thing, guys. You see the drivers get on in the cars, they go out and they go racing on the track itself, but so much of the success, and Nolan, you could talk about this, happens afterwards. When you guys disappear on us, we try to find you for interviews, but you guys are in the engineering room for a debrief, and it's all about communications. You're American, Kiko, of course, Brazilian. What's your communication like with your engineers? Is it pretty smooth?
Yeah, it's a diverse team. The team is all from Mexico. Everyone speaks English. They speak better English than I speak Spanish and Portuguese. Yeah. But yeah, the communication has grown a lot throughout the last season. It's kind of difficult when you start, not only a language barrier, but just communicating what the car is doing and where it's doing that and what changes we're going to make. It helps a lot to have worked together for a whole year.
Yeah, I can understand that, the familiarity, right? Let's have a look again at USF2000. A couple drivers to watch for. I think Michael D'Orlando will be on the charge, his third year in the program. Finished second last year. Didn't qualify as well as he wanted, but was able to fight his way forward a bit. Watch for D'Orlando to be pretty strong here in race number 2 as well. His teammate's pretty good too. Jagger Jones is a driver to watch for out of Arizona. Jones didn't take the route that a lot of other drivers did coming out of karting. He was a karting champion in the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour, but went stock car racing, super late model racing, ran the ARCA Menards West Series for a while as well, and was a race winner there. Finally saying, hey, I want to follow in the footsteps of my family. Of course, Jagger Jones' grandfather, the icon, Parnelli Jones, his father, P.J. Jones, another absolutely acclaimed race car driver with a lot of track records around the country. So Jagger's going to be one that we're going to be watching coming through the field as well. A lot of great drivers in this program to watch for as we get set to go racing. Now, one of the things about this, folks, is we're just getting the season started. We got a long way till Labor Day weekend when we cap things off at Portland International Raceway, the final rounds of this year's Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. Last year was a barn burner for sure. We really saw some tremendous racing, and Kiko Porto, as we know, able to get that scholarship. One of the biggest things about this road to Indy, champions get the scholarship to move on to the next level. Kiko won the title last year in the USF2000. He's now alongside Nolan Siegel here at D-Force Racing. But last year's battle was up and down. It was unbelievably competitive throughout the entire season, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen here in 2022. So before we head down, I'm going to go over to the grid right now. We're going to give you the full lineup. We've got a guest to give us the command to fire engines, and then we'll go racing. But before we do that, let's have a look back at the 2021 USF2000 season. And we are green, green, green. Prescott Campbell. Human Sooner of Earthing.
seconds for Newman, Suter emerging. Winning back-to-back jacks here in Indianapolis. Another new winner, Kiko Porto from D-Force Racing. Good start for D'Orlando. And the victory in the Freedom 75 for Michael D'Orlando. Green, green, green.
D-Force Racing Race 2 winner, Kiko Porto. Kyle Crowe looking to get Kyle Crowe, the pass in turn number 9. The Force Indy driver's line of P1.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local Cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done, day after day.
Ring Power has the equipment you need when you need it, daily, weekly, or monthly. To rent, visit catrentalstore.com.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers.
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local Cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done day after day.
Ring Power has the equipment you need when you need it, daily, weekly, or monthly. To rent, visit catrentalstore.com.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Hey guys, it's Colin Kaminsky. We're here in downtown St. Petersburg at Albert Whitted Airport. Here to take you guys through a lap of what it's like to go around in a Road to Indy race car around the streets of St. Petersburg. Heading down into turn 1, you can see the 300 board on your left. You can see the big painted 7. Big challenge here at St. Petersburg is the painted lines. It's very wide, it's very tricky. Try to get hard on the power. Flat left-handed turn 2, the flat left, right-handed turn 3, and heading down all the way into turn 4. Big braking zone here. Seen a lot of overtakes happen on the inside and the outside. It's important to get the car set up to turn 5 where the car likes to transition. You know, drivers are always minding the rear. Then you power up through into turn 8. You gotta get real close to the wall on the inside there and real close to the wall on the exit. So that's where all the lap time comes from, and then right into turn 9 there. on the right-hand side with the wall. And then this is your next back straightaway. Good opportunity to overtake going down into turn 10, flat through the kink. Hard braking zone, and again, close to the wall on entry and exit. That's what makes the lap time around here in St. Petersburg. Head down into the flat chicane, turn 11 to 12, right past the alternate timing line. Try to get on the brakes as late as you can there and keep it tight through what is known as the hairpin here, turns 13 and 14 that take you onto the front straightaway. Try to keep it tight, try to get on the power as early as you can because you'll have somebody on your butt chasing you all the way back down into turn 1. And that's a lap around St. Petersburg.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local Cap dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done day after day.
Ring Power has the equipment you need when you need it, daily, weekly, or monthly. To rent, visit catrentalstore.com.
Karting and motorsport.
At the luxurious Rock Spa and Salon, experience a unique blend of dining options at their award-winning restaurants, Council Oak, the Red.
Behind me right now, about set to go for what will be the final USF2000 race of this weekend. It's going to be a barn burner for sure. The drivers of the very first rung of the road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, about to roll out here just ahead of the NTT IndyCar Series, the program they all hope to be at in 3 to 4 to 5 years. Let's have a look at the grid as these drivers get set to go. Starting in the 19th position at the tail of the field, it will be the number 30 of Victor Anderson, the Swede, running with Velocity Racing Development. He'll start in the 19th position. Row number 9 will have Yoru Lee on the outside in the number 7 for J. Howard Driver Development, the rookie starting in the 18th position. Jorge Garcia will start in the 17th spot in the number 9 for J. Howard Driver Development, another one of the rookie drivers coming from Mexico. Good to have Garcia with us here this weekend. Row number 8, Nikki Hayes in the number 5 out of California, a rookie driver running for Cape Motorsports. Hayes will start in the 16th spot. Inside of row 8, all the way from New Zealand in his rookie campaign with exclusive Autosport, Jacob Douglas in the number 90. Row number 7 on the outside, Frederick Lund from Nicaragua, the rookie in the number 6, starting 14th. Inside out of Avon, Indiana, for Cape Motorsports, it's Jackson Lee in the number 2. Row number 6 now, driver who's going to have to start deeper in the field, finished second in race number 1 yesterday, and that is Billy Fraser, the Kiwi out of New Zealand for exclusive Autosport. P2 yesterday, starting on the outside of the 6th row with the number 92. Watch for Fraser in the Corpay machine, working his way forward. Inside of that row, an exciting young rookie as well, out of the Illinois karting racing community, Christian Weir for Turn 3, Motorsport in the 32, starting in 11th. We'll work our way now into the top 10. Row number 5 on the outside, another second-year driver who we expect to challenge throughout this season for Turn 3 Motorsports, Spike Kohlbecker out of St. Louis, Missouri, in the number 33, starting in 10th. Inside of that row, in the number 11, for D-Force Racing out of New York, it's Dylan Christie. Christie in the 11, starting 9th alongside of Spike Kohlbecker. Moving up to row number 4 now. On the outside, second in the championship last year. Did not get the qualifying he wanted, but has been able to race his way forward. You keep an eye on this driver here, the number 4, the Cape Motorsports machine of Michael D'Orlando out of Hartsdale, New York. Definitely a driver to watch starting on the outside of row number 4. Inside of row 4, one of the great stories here in the road to Indy, a driver who worked his way up through the dirt ranks, running in junior sprints into the 305 and 360 sprint cars as well. I'm talking about Trey Burke out of Arvin, Texas for Joe Dueling Autosport. Burke, who battled last year learning this discipline of road racing, has found himself moving forward. He'll start in the 7th place today on the inside of row number 4. Row 3 on the outside, the driver who battled for the race win yesterday out of New York for Pabst Racing. In the number 22, keep your eyes out for Miles Rowe. Rowe starting in the 6th position. Inside of that row is Simon Sykes, multi-time SCCA National Championship runoffs winner, running for Legacy Autosport. Had a tremendous end of the season last year, a number of podium finishes. Simon Sykes out of Georgia in the number 19, starting in 5th. We'll go to row number 2 now on the outside, a surname that everyone knows around IndyCar circles. It is Jones. He is the grandson of the great Parnelli Jones. Jagger Jones, the rookie at Arizona for Cape Motorsports, the number 3, starting in 4th. Great story for Jones. Coming out of karting into stock cars, ran in the ARCA Menards West Series. He has made the move to Indy and will run this year in USF2000. Jagger Jones starting on the outside of row number 2. Inside of row 2, Thomas Naveau from Quebec, Canada, in the number 10 for D-Force Racing. Led 19 laps yesterday, not able to get to the checkered flag. Watch for him to be on the move here early. Naveau in the number 10, starting in 3rd. 19 drivers in the field, 2 on the front row. Off pole, a podium finish yesterday in the number 12 machine for D-Force Racing. Bajoy Garg out of California, a great run for him. He will start P2 in that number 12 machine, but the driver on the pole right now who was able to get that victory yesterday, avoided the last lap carnage, slid through to get the win out of Scottsdale, Arizona in the Metalworks Custom Fabrications machine for Pabst Racing. The pole sitter number 23, Chase Denmark. Denmark and Garg on row 1. Naveau and Jones, row 2. Sykes and Rowe, row number 3. Burke and D'Orlando on row 4. Christie and Kohlbecker, row 5. Weir alongside Fraser on row 6. Lee and Lund on row 7. It'll be Douglas and Hayes on row 8. Garciase and Lee on row 9. And Anderson on row number 10. An international field for sure here this weekend as we cap off the opening rounds of this year's Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Each one of these drivers battling after that scholarship that would allow them to move up into Indy Pro 2000 last year. And, of course, the examples of what is possible are all over the IndyCar paddock. We see drivers like Kyle Kirkwood, who ran and won all 3 levels in a row in USF 2000, Indy Pro, and Indy Lights, winning those championships and taking that money to be able to parlay into a ride with AJ Foyt Racing. We're super excited to watch Kyle launch from 12th place, making the Fast 12 yesterday in qualifying. Kirkwood, of course, one of our big-time premier graduates. Pato Award in there as well. Renus VK ran all 3 levels of the Road to Indy. So many drivers, like a David Malukas as well, Colton Herta, have been part of this unparalleled training program when it comes to getting drivers into the NTT IndyCar Series. The event today, the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. It will be a 20-lapper, and what a beautiful day it is. We will take the opportunity to say hello to those of you who are watching on the Road to Indy TV app or one of the platforms around the country or around the world. Great to have you on board with us. I hope you're enjoying what's been a great day here so far. So again, folks, getting ready to fire things up right now, and it is about time to fire up the drivers and fire up these elite engines as we get set to go. And again, joining me down here on pit lane, one of our guests from Foundation Building Materials for the Command of Fire Engines.
On behalf of Foundation Building Materials, drivers, start your engines.
Great to have Foundation Building Materials as part of our program. And folks, engines have fired. We'll put it back up to the booth. Todd, I'll be up there in a second. It's time to go USF 2000 racing.
We had a great Indy Lights race. Now we're looking for a second great race here this morning at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding. USF2000 cars are coming to life along pit lane. If you weren't with us on Friday to catch their action, there was plenty of it. These youngsters are eager for success on the road to Indy. They know it is the stepladder up to the NTT IndyCar Series. It is their opportunity to hone their craft, to display their talents, and show the stars and teams in IndyCar that they are coming and they want those jobs in a few years down the road. The USF 2000 is the first step on the road to Indy. Indy Pro 2000, who we saw race yesterday, also some sensational action as we're watching the cars pull away now from pit lane. Rob Howden will come back to join us for the start of the race and the call of the race. The drivers, just like we saw with the Indy Lights Series, just like we'll see with the IndyCar Series, will begin to warm up those tires. You see the stickers on those tires on that last car on the grid. And you'll see the drivers start to warm those tires up. Those stickers should be worn off and the tires warm by the time they get back to the start-finish line here on the streets of St. Petersburg. A lot of action and dramatic action right till the end of race number 1 in the USF 2000 series early in the weekend. It was Thomas Navu and Miles Rowe who were battling for the lead in the final closing laps, and in fact right down to the last lap as the two challenged each other through corner number 1. There was contact in corner number 2. Those two front runners wound up taking each other out and slamming hard into the wall. Both drivers climbed out okay. Their cars were not, but it left the opening for the third place runner, Jace Denmark, who starts on the pole, to come through and claim the victory. He was followed to the podium by Billy Fraser and Bejoy Garg, who also starts along Jace Denmark on the front row. Thomas Navu will be the third place starter immediately behind those two. Will he look for an opportunity to get through in the early going? They will line up tight along the backstretch and are right now as they're making their way through the left-hander turn number 10 and heading towards the hairpin that will bring them back out onto the front straightaway and get this race underway for the USF 2000 series. Drivers continuing to warm their tires, and now we see them starting to form up row by row along the backstretch and head to the front. Heading through corner number 13 and 14. Rob Howden has made it in record time from pit lane to call the start.
That was a full sprint. A full sprint. Oh, drivers getting set to go, coming out of turn number 12. Looks like we're going to go one more time around. I would like to have had that knowledge, Todd.
If you had only known that you had an extra lap around to make it up, but good for you, my friend, to make it up here in record time to get here in time to call the start of the race, which would have been on this lap. But I guess they just want to make sure that the tires are warm. I didn't see if there was an issue out on the course with one of the safety vehicles or one part of the course that they just wanted to make sure was okay. But better to send these USF 2000 drivers around one more time. It'll allow them to get a little more heat into those tires, and they will form up once again through the back part of the course and on the back stretch and get set for the start of today's race, the second race in the USF 2000 series.
I'll take a couple more minutes, maybe another minute to catch my breath, because I brought a guest with me right now. The winner yesterday from Indy Pro 2000, Nolan Siegel, was with us, of course, in the pre-show. Nolan, let's talk about you racing. What is going through the minds of the guys in the front row right now? What is the thought process?
It's an intense moment for sure when you're about to start the race, especially up front. They're all just, I'm sure, thinking about getting through turn 1 cleanly. This is a difficult place to get around clean. So if they can get through the first lap without an incident, that's definitely a win.
Indeed, that it is. It's the opening lap here. You know, we've called lots of races here, Todd, together. We all hold our breath going into turn number 1.
I think we said exactly that on Friday for race number 1. It's when do we start talking about turn 1, and do we hold our breath? Do we think? But then also, as important as turn number 1 is, 2 and 3, the combination that come quickly after, and that's where the track really narrows up and becomes the challenge.
It's the craziness that funnels into the chaos, right? Is that pretty much Nolan the deal? You get through turn 1, you hold your breath till you get to 4.
Oh, for sure. That runway funneling into turn 1 is quite wide, so it's inviting, and then it funnels down to a 2-lane street. So it's an interesting complex.
The inside line very inviting, as you know, but it's dirty down there. There's not a lot of rubber down there. What are your thoughts? Do you dive there, or are you trying to stay away from that yourself?
It really depends. It's possible, but it's a really difficult move to make, especially on the start when you're just trying to survive. So
good Wise words there from Nolan Siegel, winner yesterday in the Indy Pro 2000 category, a point leader heading to Barber Motorsports Park. We still have yellow. Now, what I'm expecting here, before we went to the driver introduction, they were doing a lot of cleanup on the racetrack after that Indy Lights race. And again, big congratulations to Matthew Brabham on that race win. Talk about reigniting your career. Amazing.
I mentioned that I was talking with him last night, and he said everything about this car. This is a different car than the one he drove in his years in Indy Lights. I said, I've got a lot to learn, but, I've got time to do that. And but good for the veteran to understand his position. He was in position for a great finish, and you're thinking of the season championship. If you're in position for a win, sometimes it presents itself.
Opportunity is when all that work meets the preparation, right? It's essentially what's happening. We do have a car being towed back. So one of the machines slowing on the back straight. I'm not sure that was Victor. It might have been Victor Anderson, I think, was an issue for him. So Anderson getting towed back, the reason why we have not gone green flag racing yet. But you look at a guy like Matthew Brabham, as we talk here about the road to Indy, 2012 USF2000 champion, flat dominated the action in Pro Mazda that year, which was what our Indy Pro 2000 category is now. At one point in that Indy Lights race, with Rasmussen up front there, McElrea, and Brabham, there was 24 Indy Pro 2000 wins in that top three. So, what's what we do here, right? We develop the drivers to go to the next level, and for me, it's fantastic to see Matthew Brabham, who went to Indy Lights, though, in 2014, the year before the new car came out.
Didn't quite get the championship, and that's where kind of his career stalled. He did continue on in motorsports into some other areas and had some success, a lot of success in the Stadium Truck Series. Yeah, he did get to run the Indy 500, but his focus is, he's trying to reignite his career and felt that the opportunity in Indy Lights was there. Maybe that's an opportunity to get back in front of teams that might think of the driver and need a driver, and Matt Brabham has the talent.
Exactly that. And again, just trying to get back to the NTT IndyCar paddock, and a win here to start the season off big for Matthew Brabham, again, a two-time Road to Indy champion. Field looks good now. They're able to get the car of Anderson back to pit lane. We'll see if we fire him back up. And another car, we have another car that might still be Anderson. Driver has right in the middle of the racetrack. So having some trouble getting this race underway, and because of the fact the clock has started, we are actually putting laps in the books right now. 2 laps already down. It'll be a 20-lapper. So some kind of an issue there for Anderson to bring him into pit lane, and it sounds like they may have potentially lost the tow strap, which had him stranded out in turn number 12. So one more time around before we go green. So again, let's have a look at the grid, folks, as we get set to go here. Jace Denmark going to start on the pole position. Majoy Garg outside of row number 1. Both those drivers on the podium yesterday. Garg with his first Road to Indy pole, or podium rather. Thomas Navu, who led for 19 laps, just not able to bring it home, ends up starting third here now alongside Jagger Jones. Row 3 will have Simon Sykes and Miles Rowe. Rowe was in that major battle for the win with Thomas Navu. Row 4, Trey Burke and Michael D'Orlando. Burke in the 63. D'Orlando in the 4. Coming off your top 10, Dylan Christie in the number 11. Spike Kohlbecker in the number 33. Row number 6, Christian Weir in the 32 and Billy Fraser in the number 92. While row 7 will have Jackson Lee in the 2 and Frederick Lund in the number 6. Row 8, Jacob Douglas in the number 90, Kiwi, alongside Nicky Hayes in the number 5. Row 9, Jorge Garcia in the number 9 and Yoru Lee in the number 7. Anderson in the 30 for VRD. With the issues, as we said, he is into pit lane. So one more time around. Now, listen, let's get back to Nolan Siegel here. Nolan, how does this change your mindset? Because, of course, you're ready to go. You hop in the car, you fire the thing up, you know it's one lap, and you're ready to pull the trigger. What's going through the mind of these drivers here right now? What did you do to recenter yourself coming to the green?
Yeah, for me, I mean, once you're out there, you want to get going. Nobody likes driving around under yellow, especially the leaders. They're going to want to get going, build a lead, get out in front. So it's going to be stressful for them, but I'm sure they're preparing themselves for that green flag.
Your spotter on the radio with you, giving you any insight?
For sure, they're telling you, one more lap, whatever's going on track, you're getting all that information, but it does not help the mental side of it.
I can imagine. When you are ready to go, you are indeed ready to go. Field now set. Pace car has pulled onto pit lane. Time to go racing with the final event of this weekend's Road to Indy calendar, USF2000, the first step on this Road to Indy to the NTT IndyCar Series. Denmark on the inside, Garg on the outside. If you're down in turn number 1, You don't bother using the seat, folks. Stand up. This is going to be a good one. Nice and slow. Good crawl to the line here for Denmark. He's hoping to get the punch off once they get into that zone where they're allowed to leave. A little farther down. Not quite there yet. Not quite there. Hold. Green. And a good jump for Jace Denmark. Coming down the front straightaway, ready to dive into turn number 1. Great shot at turn 1. They'll go 3, maybe 4 wide. No one going all the way down to the bottom. Good start so far for the drivers at USF2000. A little tighter further back. But otherwise, drivers playing nicely and cleanly through 2 and 3. You got to give room still here. 4 on the opening lap. A big opportunity to pass still. You get the good run out of the straightaway. Yeah, you can see how many drivers all the way down the bottom. How about 4 wide into turn number 4? Big move to the inside. Is he able to get the car turned? One driver going off in the runoffs and one into the tire barrier. That driver we saw go deep into the corner, not able to make that turn and into the tire barrier. I expect we'll go full course yellow here before the end of this lap, unless that driver can jam it into reverse and get out of the tires. But we saw that driver, Nolan, go pretty deep into the corner in turn number 4, and you got to give yourself enough room to get around that corner.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, turn 1 was clean, but unfortunately, into turn 4, they tried to make it 4 wide. I don't think that that's ever going to work.
No, when you run the bottom like that, you got to whoa it up, Todd. You got to make sure you're slow enough to be able to make that right-hand corner.
It looked like Thomas Navu was making the move up the inside to follow Chase Denmark, who got a very good start approaching the green flag, and then it looked like Rowe and Sykes and everyone around him was trying to make up that spot or regain that position on the track as they were heading to 4. Just went a little too deep.
Yeah, it looked to me like it might have been one of the Pabst racing cars, the black livery on it. Not quite sure exactly who that was. We'll see as they come back around, and we'll find which driver is falling down the order here right now. Denmark comes across the line with that lead, so we are now underway. Trying to figure out, open up my phone to see if we get any information from race control to find out what happened here. But right now, drivers all working their way back around. One driver is in there. Might be Trey Burke potentially in the wall, but that's didn't look like the color of the car that came down the inside of turn number 4. So we'll hope to see if we can get a replay of what happened over there in turn number 4. And again, as always, people very aggressive at the start. We'll get that replay in a second, Nolan. Let's come to you. They always say, right, you can't win the race in the first corner, but you sure can lose it. But the opening lap, it is so enticing because it really is your best opportunity to advance if you're further back in the pack.
Yeah, this track is really difficult to pass on. It's tight. There are a lot of fast corners, and with these downforce cars, you get a lot of wash off of the car in front of you, and it makes it really hard to follow closely. So everyone knows that their best opportunity is going to be on that first lap. Starts and restarts are really important, but it does suck you into making maybe some decisions that you won't be happy with later on.
Yeah, it's all about the risk-reward, right? Nolan, let's you and I have a look at this, and we'll see what happened coming into the corner. You can see further back to the left-hand side, one of the drivers coming in deep on that corner. I think that incident potentially has already happened. There's one of the drivers already off. It might have been a little further up in that one. The driver got deep coming in there. That's the run out of 3 down to turn number 4. Here's a better shot. This is from the outside of 4. Driver looks to be on the outside trying to make the corner, and just sneaking through. And here's the driver that comes through tight. Boom, into the barriers. Yeah, that's one of the darker colored cars. Trey Burke falling down the order right now. So that may indeed have been Trey Burke. One driver went off as well in the runoff area. And again, that's risk reward, right, Nolan? You're getting aggressive. You're trying to get the spots. It's so inviting, as you said, like turn number 1 is. It's wide open down the bottom, but when you roll that much corner speed in, there's just, physics-wise, there's just no way that car's going to make the corner.
Yeah, it looked like you just got in a little bit too deep, and it's an easy mistake to make, but unfortunately, that's a day over for whichever driver that was.
Yeah, we'll try to get a confirmation on that as they come through here. Jace Denmark with the lead. Thomas Navu up into second. Miles Rowe third. That was really the way they kind of ran. Those drivers were in the top 3 yesterday. Simon Sykes into pit lane. Wing damage. Wing damage for Simon Sykes from P4. Man, gutting for Simon. Had a great start. Simon started in 5th spot, picked the spot up on the opening lap. He'll go to the tail of the field to put a new wing on the Legacy Autosport Caddis USF2000 and get him back out on the track. So there's going to be a guy to watch for sure. That beautiful striking blue and orange machine of Simon Sykes. He'll be really attacking from the tail of the field. Jagger Jones up into the 5th spot, which will now be 4th. 5th will be D'Orlando, 6th Christie, 7th Weir, 8th Garg, 9th Nicky Hayes, and Billy Fraser will have worked himself into the top 10 now. And again, a couple of drivers not coming back around. Trey Burke, we believe, one of the drivers involved. Looks like maybe Jackson Lee falling down. Everybody else coming through. Again, I thought it was one of the darker cars, but again, Trey Burke, one of the drivers who has not come back around. Only 3 laps in the books for Trey.
Okay, Nolan, I'm going to ask you now, since we had to wait for the start of the race, there's a little bit of anticipation. You got the green flag, you got 1 lap under green, now you've got to wait again. How does that, do you try to calm down? Do you try to refocus? You also don't want to get over anxious because a quarter of this race is also now ticked away, and you've got to avoid the mindset of, okay, I've really got to go now because there's only a few laps left.
Yeah, I think you've got to just reset at that point and think of it as the initial start again. You know, as a leader, if you take that green flag, you get through cleanly, everyone kind of, you know, they have a sigh of relief, and then it's back to the beginning again. So it's difficult, but I think if they can just reset and do it all over again, get through turn 1 cleanly, they'll be good to go.
Get green and find your rhythm as quickly as possible. Seems like the tactic. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and indeed, when we have 6 laps like this in the books, drivers on the opening lap have gotten a couple spots. A Jagger Jones, who started deeper in the field, or started where he was, settling into position. He's P4. Some of the guys that started further back, like a D'Orlando, gets a couple of spots. He's loving this right now. The leaders weren't able to pull away. He got 2 positions. He's now going to be up into the 5th position. This is perfect for Michael D'Orlando. Field working their way back out through the back part of the racetrack. They'll get on the throttle. And a big jump already for Jace Denmark on the throttle early, catching Nepvu a little bit off guard. Here comes Miles Rowe. Rowe with a big run here on Nepvu. Let's watch him come back down here into turn number 1. There's the shot. Rowe coming to the inside. Book it. Miles Rowe goes to P2. Textbook restart pass for Miles Rowe. Gets a good run out of the corner. Tucks into the draft. Better run off of turn 12. He completes the pass with a move down to the inside of turn number 2. And probably a good idea as well for Thomas Neveu. No need to fight it. You'll get back at it. But he's getting challenged here right now from Jagger Jones. They'll go side by side through turn number 4. So Jones going to work on Thomas Neveu as well. And he indeed gets through. So Neveu back into the 4th spot. And Todd, we see this happen time and time again. When you get past, you're out of the rhythm. You're on the outside of the racetrack. You don't get a good enough run through turn number 1 and 2. The guy behind you gets the big run, and he's able to take advantage. Good job there for Jagger Jones as he goes to 3rd.
Exactly it, and as you see, right at the start of the race or on the restarts is the best opportunity to gain positions. All the field is bunched up. Everyone is as close as they'll ever be as they're fighting now through corner 10. Everyone's as close as they're ever going to be. It is your best chance to make a spot, and Miles Rowe goes up to 2nd, Jones up to 3rd, and Neveu is down to 4th.
Yeah, Thomas Neveu going to watch out because he may have his teammate Dylan Christie trying to find a way by here as well. A lot of challenges in the field right now. Denmark, Rowe, Jones, Neveu, and D'Orlando top 5. Christie runs in 6th. Weir in 7th. 8th is Hayes. 9th Garg, and Spike Kohlbecker now up into the 10th position. I believe Sykes. Yeah, Sykes. They may not have been able to get him out in time on that yellow. So he is, I believe, still on the racetrack, but Sykes is further back. He's going to need a yellow flag to be able to bunch back up to the tail. But we are fighting like crazy. The 2 D-Force drivers diving inside each other here in turn number 4 as well. You can see them side by side coming through turn 7. What a battle here for the D-Force drivers. There they are. Oh, more contact. Couple drivers. Oh, we're going to stack it up coming through turn number 8 and 9. That is 3 drivers involved there. I think that may be the 2 D-Force drivers getting together in turn number 8. Nolan, I'm going to leave you on the shelf right now. Those are your teammates in D-Force Racing. Another yellow flag here in USF2000. A tough place to start the season. These drivers getting super aggressive. And you don't want to see that early in a run. We were only halfway through, and I believe that might have been Dylan Christie and potentially Majoy Garg might have been involved as well there. We'll reset when they come back around. Denmark P1, Rowe 2nd, Jagger Jones 3rd, Michael D'Orlando up to 4th, Thomas Nepvu in 5th, Nicky Hayes up into 6th, Billy Fraser 7th, Spike Kohlbecker 8th, Jackson Lee, who was involved early, gets himself back to 9th, and Jorge Garcias in 10th. Here's the replay of what happened over in turn number 8. They were really dicing it out through 4, 5, and 6. So here they are coming through the corner. That's Jagger Jones, and coming through the corner, Nauvoo able to get going. One of the drivers goes around. I want to say that might have been Garg, I think, spinning around. One of the other Cape cars coming through and making contact as well. And you can see the carnage back there, rear wings falling. The minute that driver kind of looped it around, others making evasive maneuvers and just really nowhere to go. And Todd, that's a tight part of this racetrack. You're coming through that corner, you're rolling all this speed, you're trying to go to the outside of the track, and to be able to come back over to the right side to avoid an incident, if you're at speed, it's almost impossible.
As you're going through, you're trying to make those two corners one corner, one swooping corner around, loop all the way around, go out to the left side, to the far side on the left, and before you cut back to the right for that right-hander, and that's the difficult part. We're going to take another look at that incident once again, try to pick up who exactly was collected into those corners. And again, it's so tight through that area. The concrete wall's unforgiving, and as soon as you hit the concrete and sometimes get bounced back out onto the track, that's when all the other cars start to get collected.
One of the turn 3 motorsport cars just able to slip through. You can see the other drivers from the back with nowhere to go whatsoever. Drivers spinning. And
drivers can't see around that corner as they're approaching.
Exactly. Noel, let's bring you in there. That, to me, looked like the car already started to break loose as they started to turn in. Do you trail brake there in these cars here? It looks like the car was already starting to rotate and kind of looped around on them.
Yeah, that's a really bumpy section of the track, and the road has a big crown in it. So as you get out towards that outside wall, the rear of the car starts to fall away, and it's really easy to get loose there. And unfortunately, the guys behind just had nowhere to go.
Yeah, great insight, and the word he brought up there, and let's talk about that, the crown in the road. You'll hear a lot about that anytime you're here this weekend. Anytime we race in a street course, that's a regular road, Todd, and the crown in the road, the raise in the middle, and it slopes off on the sides, and so that when it rains, the rain will get down into the gutters. But when you're in a race car, as you get over top of that crown and you start to fall on the other side, the car intrinsically wants to get loose on the exit of the corner, or whatever it may be, and that it starts to go around. Drivers have to be really quick on the wheel to be able to catch that if it starts to go.
It's not something that you notice in your car driving, but with these USF2000 cars and other cars, much lower to the ground, much less forgiving. And the crowns on the roads in Florida are very severe as well because of the heavy rain, so you have to have a larger crown in some areas.
We've got Nolan Siegel, the Indy Pro 2000 race winner from D-Force Racing, joining us here in the Californian. Let's talk about your experience with those crowns. How cognizant are you in every corner of where you're placing the car when it starts to rotate, that it's going to potentially get away unless you've got the wheel on it?
Yeah, you have to be really conscious of it at all times. When you see drivers doing the track walks, drivers and teams are looking at things like that, like the crown in the road. And on those city roads like turns 8 and 9, you get a big dip towards the apex of the corner, so you have to get really close to that wall, and you get a big compression, a lot of grip towards the apex, but then it falls away quickly as the road slopes towards the wall.
Let's talk about who was the benefactor of that one, Todd, and that was Simon Sykes. Remember, he had the wing damage, came into pit lane from P4. They got the wing back on, new wing on. He jumps out, but way behind the field. Yellow flag comes out, and somehow he's running 11th. Simon Sykes to 11th, look out.
And for Simon Sykes, we're only halfway through this race now. He's got a fresh wing, he's got his chance to reset himself, get collected back up with the rest of the pack, and now he's looking for opportunities all the way through. It's his opportunity to try to regain some of those positions lost.
So let's figure out some of the drivers that were involved in that wreck going down. Jackson Lee, I believe, involved, Dylan Christie, Christian Weir, Bejoy Garg, Jacob Douglas, I believe, as well, Frederick Lund, all those drivers involved in the incident coming through there. Jace Denmark, the driver, though, still leads here and has been able to get from the pole position a good start. A couple of restarts already for Jace. Miles Rowe up into second, so Pabst Racing runs 1 and 2. Of course, Miles Rowe looking for the recovery after the incident at the end of yesterday's first race. Jagger Jones up into the third spot. Michael D'Orlando in fourth. Thomas Nauvoo in fifth. It is Nikki Hayes in sixth spot right now. Billy Fraser up to seventh. Spike Kohlbecker eighth. Jackson Lee ninth. And 10th is Jorge Garcia, the Mexican driver for J. Howard Driver Developments. Simon Sykes running in the 11th spot. Yoru Lee now into 8th. I think it might have been Lee, might have been the driver who was in the wall in turn number 4, the opening part of that race. That was the dark colored car that got into the wall there, but he's been able to get back on the racetrack, and I believe potentially stayed on the lead lap.
All right, so we're just reaching and passing the halfway point of the race. We've had 3 caution flags. It's an opportunity for some. It's frustration for others, but Michael D'Orlando has had the opportunity to move up. Thomas Navu, who has fallen all the way down to 5th, he lost a number of positions on that last restart. This is his chance now. He's got to focus on the task ahead. He's found himself in 5th position, where he lost positions on the last restart. He's going to be looking at and focused on regaining those spots.
I'm being told by race control that number 23, Jace Denmark, told at the last restart a little too slow. Please pick it up a little bit. So we'll see what happens here with Jace Denmark. Perfect guy in the booth right now, Nolan Siegel. Yesterday able to win his first Indy Pro 2000 race. And unlike race number 1 that went green to checker, his did not. He had a couple of restarts that he had to handle. So what's the mindset on a restart? What do you do here? How do you play the strategy? What can you do with the guys behind you to make sure you're not getting passed down in turn number 1?
Yeah, if you're the leader, you have full control over the pace as long as it's not too slow, like
right?
they say happened to Denmark. But you're just looking to go at an unexpected time and try to fool the guys behind you. So you have that whole run to turn 12 and then out of turn 12 to choose your point. And you're watching the guy behind you to just try and time it so that maybe they're slowing down when you go and you can get a little bit of a gap and a little bit of breathing room into turn 1.
You see a lot of work being done here by the AMR IndyCar safety team. Great to have them as part of our Road to Indy as well, not just the NTT IndyCar series, but with us as well. But as you said that, Nolan, one of the things to kind of put the point to the rule book, you have to keep a constant speed. You can't start, slow up to make the accordion effect. You essentially have to get out of that corner, maintain a speed. So really your only benefit is to be able to be the first guy to punch off.
Yes, and it's the same on the initial starts, because if you do that accelerate brake, and it really screws up the guys in the back. You might not notice it if you're at the front, but if you're in the back, you really notice that accordion. So you don't want to cause any accidents on that restart.
Driver the number 6, that's the machine they brought up. That was Frederick Lund from Nicaragua, running for Jay Howard Driver Development. Todd, that's the car they had up on the hook. They're continuing to wrap things up here right now. 10 laps down, 10 laps still to go. We'll cross our fingers we can get this cleaned up pretty quickly to see if we can't get at least 8 or 9 laps. One of the great things about the Road to Indy is we do have a nice big window to get all of our laps in, so it's not like we're going to cut it close, and we have enough time potentially to get everything done here. This will be a battle to the end. Again, it's the 2 Pabst racing cars, 1-2. Denmark with the win yesterday, having got through the chaos of the contact between Miles Rowe and Thomas Navu. But again, Miles Rowe looking to have a good race here, get some points, head on to Barber Motorsports.
That's the objective after having the difficulties in the first race of the weekend for both Miles Rowe, for Thomas Navu as well, who also had the problems. They also had difficulties. Looks like we're getting the 1-to-go sign at the starter stand, so we will be back green flag racing. Again, everybody will scrub their tires, warm them up, especially having traveled through that area that the problem was out on the racetrack. You want to make sure that they're clean of all the rubber and marbles and debris. They've got the tires and safety barriers back in place, and now it's going to be up to these drivers to give us a good green flag start.
So indeed, Denmark will lead him here. There'll be 12 laps in the books when they get back around. 8 more laps remain in the Foundation Building Materials Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And again, we cap off our opening weekend of this year's Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Got a big wait, Nolan Siegel. We don't go back racing until Barber Motorsports Park at the end of April. So essentially, because of the IndyCar moving the weekend here up into February, about a 2-month wait, but luckily you're at least back in the car for a test at Barber midway through March. So before we get to Barber, everybody getting a chance to get on that racetrack, spring conditions, to really get dialed in for race numbers 3 and 4.
Yeah, everyone's just going to be focused on Barber after this weekend. It's great if you finish well here, but you've got some really good race car drivers that unfortunately got caught out in some of those incidents earlier on, and they're going to be working really hard to get back up to the front at Barber.
That's it, a chance to press the reset button. It's one of the reasons why we like running 2 races here for our drivers as well. Sometimes we even do triple headers. If you had trouble in the opening race, able to come back the next day and do it again. We are ready to go racing here though. Jace Denmark, Miles Rowe, Jagger Jones, Michael D'Orlando, Thomas Navu, your top 5 as they'll go single file coming out of turn number 11. Denmark ready to fire it up. Pace cars headed to pit lane. 8 more laps remain here in our last main event of the weekend. Good start for Denmark, but here comes Miles Rowe. Rowe looking to get another run. He was able to get by Thomas Navu last time. We'll watch them come down into turn number 1 here. How's it looking to turn 1? Side by side, he is through. Book it. Miles Rowe's gone to P1. Rowe, the new leader for Pabst Racing. Back-to-back moves to the inside of that corner to take the spot. Miles Rowe trying to pull away. Remember, he did not get to the checkered flag yesterday. He and Naveau with that massive crash coming through turn number 2. Will it be a redemption day for Miles Rowe? They'll work their way through. Simon Sykes getting his first position here. Moves Sykes now up into the 11th spot. Again, Simon Sykes trying to work his way forward here after the incident early. Through turns 8 and 9. Clean this time, and Rowe trying to get the power down out of turn number 9. Todd, so crucial to get the power down there so you have the speed coming down into turn 10.
Running through number 10, we've seen some drivers have a few problems going a little too deep into corner number 10 as they peek out, have a look, and decide it's better to follow through smoothly and complete that pass maybe at another point. And it looks like we're going to get through this whole lap. I don't want to speak too soon, but it looks like we're going to get through beautifully on lap number 1. So now you've got lap 1 in the books. Now you're starting to assess, how does my car feel? Because you really haven't had a chance to do that yet with not a lot of extended green flag running, Nolan. So you've had one green flag lap. Now it's, what is my car doing? How does it feel?
Indeed, and I'll tell you what Miles Rowe's saying. He says, my car feels awesome. He is out to an 0.8 of a second lead already. Miles Rowe, who went to the inside of his teammate, Jace Denmark, to start that race, has been able to work his way into almost a full second advantage. So Miles Rowe looking great up front. Rowe, of course, running for Force Indy last year. Will Power found him racing cards at GoPro Motorplex in North Carolina. He'd done some Lucas Oil School racing, able to win last year at New Jersey Motorsports Park. The young African-American driver out front, trying to win his second USF2000 race. And again, it would be huge redemption after the contact yesterday. Looks to be like Simon Sykes able to get another spot. He's, I think, up another position here as he's trying to do the best he can. 7 laps remaining, 13 down. Look at the fight here further back. That's a couple of the Cape cars going out. That's D'Orlando and Jones battling it away. D'Orlando, I believe, able to get by. No, I think Jones might have been able to hold him back. So Jones, who is through? Yeah, it is Jones holding on to the spot. D'Orlando in the 4th spot. Thomas Naveau in 5th. Billy Fraser in 6th. Nicky Hayes 7th. Jackson Lee up into 8th. Colbecker 9th. And Guillaume getting up there as well. So good racing so far. Nolan, when you're racing with your teammate, you got to give a little bit more, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. You have to have respect for your teammates and maybe a little bit more than others. But, you know, everyone's racing hard. They're your teammate, but at the end of the day, it's an individual sport, and you have to race them hard.
Give might be a little strong of a word, don't you think? You don't want to give your teammate anything.
Correct.
Maybe a little cushion, maybe a second guess, maybe a little bit. You know, hey, listen, I'll tell you this right now, and I know Nolan, you'll back me up on it. If there's one thing your team owner tells you at the start of one of these races, nothing else but don't take out your teammate.
Yep. Yes, I can confirm that is what they tell you at the beginning of the race.
Do not take out your teammate. And I'll tell you, Augie Pabst probably feeling the same way right now. The team owner for Pabst Racing, he's got his drivers running 1-2. Miles Rowe, Jace Denmark leading the way right now. Denmark with about a second and a half back to Jagger Jones, who still has his Cape Motorsports teammate pounding on the gearbox, trying to find a way by. D'Orlando 4th, Naveau 5th, Fraser up to 6th. Nicky Hayes in 7th, Jackson Lee 8th, Mike Colbecker 9th, and I believe Simon Sykes down over to the 10th spot. They power down the front straightaway into turn number 1. 5 laps remaining. 5 to go. Not a lot of battles lining up here right now. Simon Sykes continuing to try to work his way up. He's in a 10th position. So good recovery for Simon Sykes, the Legacy Autosport driver who had a bunch of podiums in a row late in the season last year. Very talented young driver. No budget whatsoever. This is a guy that if you're looking to support a driver, Simon Sykes would be one to get behind. Very well spoken. We've had him in the booth many times. And again, a 2-time SCCA National Championship runoffs winner. Formula F2000, a talented driver from Georgia, trying to fight his way back up. He's going to work on Spike Colbecker now for potentially the 9th or 10th position. But again, laps winding down here. Todd, less than 5 to go when they come back around. Miles Rowe, 1.1 seconds Rowe. You think about from the very bottom, as a driver can feel that wreck, the last lap, and then to be able to come back. The contrast of emotions will be amazing for Miles.
That will be a complete swing from success, from the frustration that was experienced earlier in the weekend. Just trying to keep an eye on Michael D'Orlando, who looks like he's trying to nose up a little closer to Jagger Jones in that 3 and 4 position as they're heading into corner number 1 now. He does seem to be getting a little bit closer, and this is what we talked about through the weekend as well. That fights further back is you've had a lap or two, and it's not about carving and 1 second of that difference on each lap. It's a tenth, maybe 2/10 of a second. You're going to use these final 4 or 5 laps to try to close that gap and have an opportunity to pounce.
I want to say that D'Orlando might have slipped by Jagger Jones down in turn number 1 that last time. As I'd said, very tough to pick out the 2 cars here for Cape Motorsports. Very similar liveries this year. Jones with the number 3, D'Orlando with the number 4. I believe we may have a pass for that 3rd spot for D'Orlando, who's trying to get himself back into the championship fight here. It's Rowe, Denmark, Jones, D'Orlando, and Navu. And look at those Cape Motorsports cars locked together. And here comes Billy Fraser in the exclusive Autosport Corpay number 92, closing up, trying to fight for the top 5.
And fighting for it with Thomas Navu, who fell back on that restart a couple of laps ago and has been seeming to struggle just a little bit to find the pace ever since. Lost a number of positions, but you're right, Billy Fraser is closing on that battle too.
The move to the inside I saw was actually Jagger Jones last night being defensive to the inside of turn number 1. So D'Orlando didn't get by. It was Jones running the inside line. He'll do that again. Yeah, he's run that inside line to try to make D'Orlando go around the outside. So yeah, Jagger Jones holding on to 3rd position, trying to lock down his first ever podium result in his opening weekend here in USF2000. Such an amazing story, Todd. Here's a guy that came out of karting, was a national champion, got into super late model stock cars, as I said, did the ARCA Menards West Series and was a race winner there. And then said, no, I got to go road to Indy. I got to get to Indianapolis. And now we finally see him here. What a talented driver. Very well spoken off the racetrack as well. Just be cool to see Jones on the podium here today.
As you mentioned during the pre-race introductions, there is the family pedigree of success of Indianapolis as well with his grandfather Parnelli Jones. So it would seem a natural fit for Jagger Jones to come through the road to Indy and hopefully one day make it all the way to IndyCar.
Nolan, tell me about this IndyCar. Is that the dream? You want to get there?
That's the dream. That's why we're all here. All these drivers in USF2000, Indy Pro 2000, Indy Lights, everyone's looking for the NTT IndyCar Series.
It's not just about the on-track that you get as well. There is so much other education that you get as part of the road to Indy in terms of building your brand, building your team success, how to work with partners, how to work with sponsors. Tell us some about that.
Yeah, it's really important not only to be a fast driver, but to get that experience in really close racing like this USF2000 race right here. All these drivers are super competitive, super aggressive, and to learn that racecraft is really important, as well as dialing in a car, working with an engineer. All of that will become really important in the higher levels.
Let's dive into these last couple of laps here, folks. We're almost done with USF2000 and the Road to Indy component of this year's Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Miles Rowe leading by just 0.7 of a second. Does Jace Denmark have anything for his teammate as the drivers work their way through turn number 8 and 9 again? The Cape drivers have separated a little bit here. Jagger Jones in 3rd, Michael D'Orlando in 4th. But again, we're watching to see whether or not Jace Denmark can reel in Rowe. As he runs on the racetrack now, Denmark really doesn't have to do anything, because if he finishes 2nd, he's got a massive lead in the points right now, having won yesterday. But Jace Denmark will likely hold on to the spot. White flag flying for Miles Rowe as he tries to work his way back to the podium, back to the top of the box like he did back at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Challenging wet weather race last year. And again, you can't underscore how crazy it was in the incident yesterday. His contact, he and Navu in that racing incident, fighting for the win. And now we find him fighting back, the mental fortitude to be able to put his head back down and come forward. The work done by Pabst Racing to rebuild that car overnight to get him back on the racetrack here for race number 2. Rowe coming through the tough part of the racetrack here, 6 and 7. Gotta watch those crowns. The bump coming through turn number 9. It's been so tough. It caught a number of the IndyCar drivers out as well throughout this weekend. Down into turn number 10. This is massive for the young driver to New York, New York. Just a couple corners more to go. And again, talk about the story of the weekend. The wreck-it race number 1. He's getting chased by his teammate, Jace Denmark, through 11. Just a hairpin remains. And you couldn't have written a better story from Miles Rowe out of the final corner. He'll bring it down to the wall. The winner in race 2 here in St. Petersburg, Miles Rowe for Pabst Racing, getting the victory. Double checkers of Aaron Likens are Road to Indy. And Indy car. Head flag man, and I'll tell you, the emotions under the helmet right now for Miles Rowe have to be overwhelming. Todd, what a fantastic finish, and what a race for him. Just like we saw yesterday, had the speed to be able to get it done, and he's able to pull the trigger and get the race win.
How good does it feel after having to live with that last lap incident where you're unable to finish, going for the win, trying for the win, and it all goes away? Then you have to live with it for a couple of days. It was actually on Friday that race took place, and now the team works so hard, gets it back together, and you get to have the checkers. That is the full spectrum of emotion.
Todd, we got to bail here really quick. We know that IndyCar has their opening ceremony starting soon. We're going to head down to Victory Lane right now. I'll give you a chance while I'm running there to give you the full running order, but indeed, the story of the day, Miles Rowe.
Miles Rowe, a terrific victory here on the streets of St. Petersburg, coming away with the victory after the struggles and frustration in race number 1. He comes back to have the victory here in race number 2. Jace Denmark, who started on the pole in race number 2, comes away with a second place finish, held the lead for a little bit, but it was Miles Rowe, his teammate, that managed to slip around him. A couple of other good finishes as well worth noting. And how about Jagger Jones gets his first podium in the USF2000 series on the road to Indy. The Jagger Jones, the rookie in the series, comes away with a third place finish. Michael D'Orlando as well, who started back in the field, climbs forward from an 8th place start to come away with a 4th place position. Thomas Navu falls as far as 5th. Still, though, a nice bounce back. He too was involved in that incident with Miles Rowe in race number 1 this weekend on Friday. The two had contact on the closing laps. As we continue to go through the finishing order, Spike Kohlbecker climbs back as far as 12th position, had some problems, lost the wing earlier, made a pit stop, was the beneficiary of a timely caution period and able to catch up with the rest of the group, but does climb back up to get a 12th place result. Some struggles as well for the others, though. Bejoy Gard, who started up at the front of the field, falls all the way back after problems. Jacob Douglas as well. Frederick Lund also had those problems, and the result of a number of different caution periods throughout. A bit of a frustrating start to the USF2000 race, but once they got rolling, plenty of good racing action throughout the field. We saw battles for position, and this is just the first step in the Road to Indy series, Indy Pro 2000, and of course the Indy Lights series, the race that we saw a little bit earlier with some spectacular action as well. This has all been the big appetizer for the feature and main course that's coming up in just a little while this afternoon, the NTT IndyCar Series, on track for 100 laps of racing here at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding. It will be Scott McLaughlin who starts on the pole position. His teammate Will Power from Penske Racing will start alongside on row number 1. Last year's winner here on the streets of St. Petersburg, trying to go back to back as the 3 previous drivers have done. Colton Herta will start from the 3rd position, and Rinus VeeKay with a sensational qualifying effort 4th, and Romain Grosjean in the 5th place start. We'll get down for some victory ceremonies, pre-race ceremonies as well for the NTT IndyCar Series. That is all coming up just a little bit. The official pace car of this year's Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg is the storied Honda Civic Type R. The Civic Type R keeps setting new records on the track and turning heads on the street. With 3 pedals and a 306 horsepower turbocharged engine, this one goes out to driving enthusiasts. The Civic Type R, engineered by Honda, a proud sponsor of the NTT IndyCar Series.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that fast? With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done, day after day.
Ring Power has the equipment you need when you need it, daily, weekly, or monthly. To rent, visit catrentalstore.com.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper Enduro Maxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Nicely done, Jagger. P3, you know it. Well done. Great drive. Finishing in second, your point leader leading St. Petersburg. A win yesterday, second place today for Pabst Racing. Jace Denmark. Driver is going to jump to the top of the box here today. Won last year in New Jersey Motorsports Park. Going for the race win yesterday. Contact on the racetrack. He ends up in the wall. Talk about redemption. Talk about recovery. He comes back for a race win. Ladies and gentlemen, for Pabst Racing, give it up for Miles Rowe! Miles, the contrast and emotion from yesterday. Of course, yesterday, and then to come back like you did today. Just give me your raw emotion right now.
It's just, I mean, I'm pretty calm, honestly. I mean, we knew we were fast today, and, you know, it was just about coming out and doing what we had to do, to be honest. And, you know, we did that, and I'm happy for it. I'm happy for the team. They deserve it tremendously for getting the car back together. A-OK. I want to say thank you to Penske Entertainment, Roger Penske, Pabst Racing, Sparco, Bell Helmets, my mom, my dad, everyone out there who supported me. It's a great ride.
We obviously weren't under the helmet with you on that cool-down lap. Were you doing any yelling at all, any celebrating on the racetrack?
I mean, I was just pleased to get it done. You know, I was able to see my father in the grandstands after the checkered, and that was, you know, some great emotion there. I've always dreamed of doing that. But yeah, you know, pretty calm. You know, we could have had it yesterday, and, you know, it's just about getting the job done today.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
One more time, guys. Miles Rowe with the win today. Get up on top of that podium, guys. What a run for Miles Rowe. Unbelievable drive. Showed the speed yesterday, like he said. He knew he had the race car to do it. Pabst Racing, absolutely unbelievable here today and throughout the weekend at St. Petersburg. They've been at the top the entire time. Rowe And Thomas Naveau yesterday with that hard-fought battle to try to get the race win. But I'll tell you, Rowe coming back after the incident yesterday. And then Pabst Racing digging in to put that race car back together. This is fantastic for Miles Rowe. Got our good friends coming up to join us here for a photo. We know that IndyCar getting ready to fire up here as well. What a tremendous day of competition it has been for the drivers in USF2000. Those up front scrapping it out. Miles Rowe getting himself back into championship contention. That is 30 points, actually 31 points with most laps led. We'll look at fast laps. Big points for Miles Rowe to get himself back where he needs to be to fight for this championship before the end of the season. It's early, but you got to get the job done. Rowe, the victory. Pabst Racing, first and second. Jagger Jones on the podium for the first time. What a day for these young drivers. The future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. Guys, drop that champagne. Here it goes. Time to celebrate. For those of you joining us here on Road to Indy TV, thank you so much for being with us. We'll be back again in 2 months' time. Barber Motorsports Park, we get back together to go racing again. On behalf of everybody from the Road to Indy, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.